It was the biggest and most highly classified project of World War II. It was more highly classified than the Normandy invasion. It had #1 priority in everything.
It wasn't easy. You know it's got to be done, so you grab it and run with it. Get the job done.
It was a job unlike anything the world had ever seen.
It was the business end of an atomic bomb. It was plutonium. It was the first. It was going to change the world.
Well, the first time I ever got into it, I was just astounded because I just could not imagine the effort that it took to do that.
It did a lot of good, it did a lot of damage. I think every American, in fact, every citizen of the world needs to know about Hanford.
The war was not going very well after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. The Japanese took a whole bunch of people on what was called the Bataan Death March. It was this terrible situation. Our boys were being killed, and the war in Europe was pretty grim then.
When we entered the war, the Allies, the side that America was on, were losing the war. We were actually losing. And that's hard for people today to believe, because we always think of the United States as being so powerful.
We were frightened. This country might be invaded, we might be taken over like Poland. The war was real then.
In Germany, new scientific discoveries had sparked more fear. In 1939, 2 scientists had split or fissioned the nucleus of a uranium atom.
It was a very big deal indeed, and every major country knew the implications of that, if indeed a runaway chain reaction could be produced.
Scientists knew that when a uranium atom is bombarded with neutrons, the uranium nucleus can split, releasing energy and more neutrons.
If those neutrons now split other uranium atoms, that could go on and on. Physicists were thinking that it could make explosives of hitherto unheard of amount of energy and violence.
The race to build the ultimate weapon of war had begun. In 1939, President Franklin Roosevelt received a letter signed by Albert Einstein, urging more research into this new science and potentially new kind of weapon. Soon after, Roosevelt began asking America's top scientists for help. And in 1941, a new discovery brought the possibility of a super bomb one step closer. While experimenting with uranium, chemist Glenn Seaborg isolated a new element.
Plutonium is a man-made element that you make by bombarding uranium.
Plutonium was highly fissionable, and like uranium, could possibly be used as fuel for an atomic bomb. But the only way scientists could produce enough plutonium for a weapon would be through a controlled nuclear chain reaction. And that had never been done until a recently emigrated Italian physicist went to work at the University of Chicago.
On December 2nd, 1942, Dr. Enrico Fermi built what's called Chicago Pile 1, and that is the actual first reactor in the world. Let's remember, it wasn't a building, it was simply a pile of graphite. It was temporary. It didn't have a cooling system. It's very important. It operated at such a low power level, 1/2 of a watt.
I was absolutely flabbergasted. I had never heard of a chain reacting pile. And I think if you look back at some of the reports, you'll find that the secret statement was made to Washington that the Italian navigator has arrived in the New World and found the natives friendly. That was a sign that the nuclear chain reaction had occurred.